Well, good evening and welcome to the Carolyn Holt Show. I have decided that I am just going to clone Felicia so that she can just sit around the desk because she certainly has a wonderful way of making people feel great, welcome, and motivated to do what they know they need to do. So thank you, Felicia. I appreciate you. Wow. But we have some great conversations off the air. So if you could just be a fly on the wall. But I want to thank you so much for joining me. Last week I was unable to come because I was suffering from a sinus problem that it's been very hard to shake. I don't know what that's about, but I think it's from sleeping under an air conditioner, and I just don't do well with that sort of thing. But it's been so hot that, you got to do something. So I've been keeping my head up, the same as I tell you guys every week. I've been doing what I believe. And tonight is no exception. We're going to talk about being a successful entrepreneur, but what sparked my interest to do some research and to talk about this was I was listening to an interview with LL Cool J, and he said something that that it really struck me, and he was talking about how he wanted to get to the level to where he could give away 80% of his income. He said that currently he's giving away about 20%, but he wanted to get to the level that he could give away about 80% of his income. And when I heard that, I thought about, well, maybe that's kind of easy for him to say because of what he does. And when I thought about it a little bit more, I realized that it's not about just him. If you decide that that is something that you wish to do, it can be done. And in doing some intense reading, which I like to do, I found an article in Inc. magazine. It's for entrepreneurs, and it's for men and women, because I believe that both sexes can benefit from great advice and from knowledgeable people who know a lot of things and from their wisdom. And I just appreciate LL Cool J because he sparked for me an interest in checking some things out that I believe will be truly beneficial to you that I want to share tonight. And I'd love for you to, in the comment section, tell me what you think of some of these things that I have to share with you, because this information, I believe, offers a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, a lot of insight. This piece was written by Benjamin Hardy, and like I said, it is some great news for entrepreneurs. And I know here at this studio there are a lot of entrepreneurs, and they work very hard at getting their name out there and their brands. And it's not just for the people who work here. I think if you desire to be an entrepreneur, you should be supported in that, because everybody, they're not happy with just living with a paycheck in their life. And so, if you work on a job, that's the expectation. You're going to get a paycheck. When you're an entrepreneur, you're going to get paid eventually, but it does require some focus and some stick-to-itiveness and a great support system. And in this particular article, like I said, I liked it because I think it's a win-win situation for both sexes, because sometimes women are not even encouraged to own businesses, but that's rapidly changing. And even when they work for others, they tend to do a very good job at minding the businesses of others that they are employed by. So this particular piece, it talks about becoming the kind of a person that's equipped with skills and abilities to do brilliant things. And I would say that is the foundation of an entrepreneur, and that is to become the kind of person equipped with skills and abilities to do brilliant things. I often think about how some of the simplest ideas, they revolutionize the world and they change the inventor's life in all kinds of ways. The man who invented the pillow that you see the ads running all the time, apparently for the people who own that pillow, they say that it is an excellent pillow. I myself don't own one, but I have talked to people who do, and they have glowing things to say about it. So there's just all kinds of things that have served mankind well. And tonight we just want to talk about how do you, as an entrepreneur, how do you make it all work on your behalf and in your favor. The great entrepreneur and development person named Jim Rohn, he sums it up in this way. He says that the greatest reward is becoming a millionaire. It's not the amount of money you earn, it's the kind of person you have to become to be a millionaire. So it's not about the money, but it's about the kind of person that you have to become, not only to be a millionaire, but a multimillionaire. And that presents a lot of things to consider. And so on tonight's show, I'm going to offer up some things from this article by Benjamin Hardy that really gave me pause and made me think about becoming a multimillionaire, because often we set out to do things and we do focus on the money. But as Jim said, it's not about the amount of money you earn. It is the kind of person you have to become not only a millionaire, but a multimillionaire. And it says that most people just wish that their circumstances would magically change in their favor. And one of the things that they don't understand when they have that wish is that they need to become better themselves at productivity and improve their own circumstances. They need to become better at productivity and improve their own circumstances. And when you hear that, it can strike fear in you, because the thought of perhaps having to make some improvements in ourselves can be a daunting task. It forces us to really take a long look at our knowledge, our skills, and our capabilities. And sometimes we wonder if we are up to the challenge. But I say to you, yes, you are. You are up to the challenge. And after I heard LL Cool J's statement, I started to give some thought, and in reading this article, it gave some great ideas about how you get started. So the first thing in terms of getting started, you can do work that becomes highly influential. If you have the power to influence people, that's a great thing, and that is a great attribute to have if you're going to be an entrepreneur. Because if you're not influencing people, then what are you doing? And the answer to that is probably not going to help you much. So you do need to be a highly influential person. if you can create a way to solve pressing problems, that's a good foundation, part of the foundation to have in terms of being an entrepreneur. I don't know if you guys remember this, but during one of the presidential election cycles, there was a man named Herman Cain that ran for president, and one of the hallmarks, I guess, of his campaign was that he was a problem solver, that he could solve problems, and people came to him for that reason, and his success was built around his ability to solve problems. And I guess that perhaps was true about him, but unfortunately, I don't think he could solve some of the problems associated with what seemingly were character issues, and he unfortunately dropped out of the race. But in terms of building a business, it is true. You do need to be good at being a problem solver. And the next part of the foundation is to get noticed by important people who share your work for their sake and not yours. Now, this gets to be an issue for many people because they're so inspired by what they want to do with the work that they're doing that they forget that they can't do everything by themselves. And, often you hear the adage that, I pull myself up by my bootstraps and I did everything myself. Well, I'm here to tell you that no man is an island, and I don't care who you are. If you have had success in your life, it was not due to you and you alone. I don't care who you are. There is no such thing as having total success by yourself. Now, there is a such thing as, being your biggest fan and your biggest advocate and rolling up your sleeves and doing what you must do to get things done. Yes, that's true. But if you are a successful person at anything, somewhere along the way, someone has helped you, even though they may not have rolled up their sleeves, but they gave you a break. They gave you information. They imparted something that helped you to reach your goal and get the result that you were looking for. So just keep that in mind. And the last thing is the people who are willing to help you, you have to remember that if you share your work with them, that's important because if they have influence, it makes them look good. And that's the part that they need. You need the entree into wherever it is that you're trying to get to, and they want to look good. So when the desire to look good and the need for an entree into a particular position come together, then you can have success. Many times, though, people say, I worked hard to do this on my own and I don't want to share this with anybody else. And you have the right to feel that way, but if you want to be successful, perhaps that's a notion that you can leave behind. And I'm going to go to break, and when I come back, I'll tell you why you might want to put that one on the shelf. So stay tuned. I have more to say.
Mastering math can be big fun. Fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it, Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
And now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
Thank you so much for joining the Carolyn Holt Show tonight. I'm thrilled to death that you are tuning in, and I can't wait to finish sharing with you about what it takes to become a multi-millionaire. And the reason I say that is because if you just say what it takes to be an entrepreneur, if you're not interested in becoming an entrepreneur, you might stop listening. So if you want to be a multi-millionaire, just consider some of these things that I'm going to share with you, and I believe that you will have great success because these are tried and true things, and these are things that have been done by very successful people. And if you think about some of the people that I'm going to name in this piece, you'll say, you know what? While they were brilliant and they were smart in one area, they are no smarter than I am in some other areas, and that's what it's about. But the number one thing to consider in terms of becoming a multimillionaire, and generally the way to generate that is to be an entrepreneur of some sort. It's to invest at least 10% of your income in yourself. And I know that this can be really hard to remember sometimes because if you work on a job, generally what happens is when you get paid, the first thing that you consider is paying your bills, which is always a very good thing because not paying your bills really does affect your credit score. I'm here to tell you. And if you want good credit, that's another thing to keep in mind. If you want to be able to get what you need when you need it, having an excellent credit score is a way to do that. But in terms of investing in yourself, at least the 10%, paying for things makes them mean more to you. If you have to pay for additional courses to learn things about what it is that you want to do, you take those things much more seriously because it costs you something. So part of that 10% investment can always go to learning new things because then you have skin in the game, as they say. And generally, when you have skin in the game, you're more likely to take things more seriously. When it comes to self-improvement, investing 10% of your income in yourself will yield 100 times or more in that investment. Because if you have the tools, the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities that you need to flourish in whatever it is that you're bringing to the forefront, you're not going to stay in the same place that you started. So if you started at $3,000, we'll say, and you want to move to $30,000, well, that's where you have to set your goal is that, okay, I'm moving into $30,000. What do I need to do each month to make that happen? The other thing that you need to consider is surround yourself with great mentors. And sometimes you do have to pay an expense to get the expertise of mentors, but it's okay. Because remember, you are investing in yourself. And mentors can give you not only wisdom and knowledge, but they can give you encouragement. And if you've ever tried to produce something new or do anything new or bring something with great results, it can often get to be very difficult to do. And mentors are people who can encourage you and give you information at the same time. So they are a great asset to have. But not only mentors, in terms of making yourself a number one investment, it will help a lot of things in your life. If you're your number one investment, there are a lot of things in your life that will directly benefit you. The number one thing that will probably happen for you is the quality of marriage you'll have will be beneficial to you. You won't just have a marriage that's contentious and a marriage that's not a win-win situation for both people. If you are an investor, you'll think about the kind of mate that you'll need in order to move forward to make your dreams come true. It'll also affect the quality of parent that you'll become. It will also affect the quality of work that you'll produce. And lastly, it will affect the level of happiness that you'll have. So always remember that, to make yourself number one and to invest in yourself. Now, the next suggestion is that you need to invest at least 80% of your off time into learning new things. There is nothing more valuable than being educated about anything that it is that you desire to do. Education is a necessary and important component for growth. So if you educate yourself, it will guarantee that you'll have some returns in your future. Now, there is a case to be made. A lot of people said, no, you don't have to go to college and get a formal education. Well, that is true. There are many ways to learn things. I suggest college because I think that it helps to develop you in a lot of ways. When you go to college to get a degree, it's not just about getting a job. It is about developing the entire person. So that's my pitch for getting a college degree. But there are numerous ways to learn things and numerous ways to educate yourself. And so it's an important thing if you really want to have some success in your future. And the next suggestion is to become an intense reader. I couldn't agree with it more. There's nothing like reading a lot, because it is amazing the information that you run across that can serve as value in your life. And that's why I was really happy that I ran across this article, because it really put into perspective for me what LL Cool J was talking about. It's one thing to say something or just to think something, but when you have some validation and some facts to back it up, it makes it even more impressive. It also says not only to become an intense reader, but to become an intense learner. It will affect the quality of relationships you have and the quality of work you do. And the quality of work you do is important because it says to others who you are. So don't ever forget that. The quality of work is the crowning glory as to who you are as a person. It says, don't work for money, work to learn. Only 20% of your energy should be spent doing actual work. The 80% should be spent learning, improving yourself, and resting. Because if there is no ability to rest in your quest to become a multimillionaire, you're going to get tired and stop pursuing it. A lot of times people say, I just got to stay on my job. I got to stay on the grind, and I got to do these things. And that's fine if that speech motivates you. But you always need some rest in order to recuperate and a way to become creative, because rest creates creativity. So you do need to take some rest if your goal is to be a multimillionaire. Otherwise, you're just going to be tired and in the hospital. So give yourself the opportunity, build it into your plan, build rest into the plan. Also, don't learn for entertainment. Learn to create more value. You're not just out there becoming an intense reader and an intense learner just so that you can talk about it. You want it to have value. And it says, learn to put the things you know into immediate practice. And a lot of times we know things, but if we don't ever apply them and put them somewhere, it's just knowledge that we have, and it's not helping us. It says, learn to put the things you know into immediate practice. Information and knowledge are two different things. Knowledge is only valuable when it's applied. So if you are a knowledgeable person, but there is no application for the knowledge that you have, then it's just knowledge. So you want to figure out some kind of way to apply it. Also, though, knowledge and wisdom are two different things. Wisdom is needed to know what you should learn, why you should learn it, and when you should learn something. Because you've heard people say, just being in the right place at the right time. Well, that's good. But sometimes if you have a strategy developed and when you have learned what's necessary, then you can implement that thing. So it is very key to have some knowledge and wisdom and exercise both of them in your quest to become a multimillionaire. Also, you should invest at least 10% of your income into vehicles that will generate more money, or what we call multiple streams of income. I remember in some business classes that I've had that when I first heard the term multiple streams of income, I was like, oh, okay, well, let's see what they're talking about. But if you want to really have success and financial success, the more ways that your ideas and your creativity brings money, then the happier you'll be, because you're not just depending on one source to grant you the desired results that you're looking for. So always think in terms of, once the initial idea that you had is up and thriving, then figure out ways to turn that into even more value so that you do have more than one stream of income at all times, and that way you don't get behind on things. It says very few people create true wealth. Most people are not truly wealthy because their lifestyles match their incomes. Often you see people on television, and they do have a lot of money. But if you're spending all of your money trying to impress people with how much you have, then I'm here to let you know that, unfortunately, you're just going to have money, but you're not going to be truly wealthy. So if wealth is your goal, don't spend all your money on your income, because there's a name for those people, and they're called consumers. So in order to be a multimillionaire, it's not about consuming. The key word is investment. So if your goal is to be a multimillionaire, change the aspect of your consuming lifestyle to an investing lifestyle, and that way you can reach your goals. Also, shifting your motivation. And this is where LL Cool J comes in, because it says, shift your motivation from getting to giving. Now, most people, this is a hard sell, because most people don't believe that giving can reward them in more ways than they ever imagined, because they think that if they give something, it's less for them. But it says, once you become more conscious and awake, the world, your desires will shift from merely receiving to giving. But it is a conscience shift, because, like I said, you have to have some maturity in order to think about giving first rather than getting first. The satisfaction gives you something you can't get in any other way when you give. And I think that most reasonable and sincere people, I think that they know this, because very few of them only think of what they're going to get, because they know that giving is just a principle that works. So don't just keep your small amount of money to yourself. Giving your small amount of money is the first step to increasing your bottom line, so that you can not only have enough to give, but you can get enough to live. So just keep that in mind. It's a principle that will serve you well. So giving is a very important aspect of receiving. Next, you want to openly acknowledge how dependent you are on other people. Now, this is where a lot of us get into trouble, myself included, because we, again, as I said earlier, no man is an island. I don't care how fabulous you think that you are. You need some help to be a success. And telling people about how you pulled yourself up by your bootstraps perhaps sounds good to you, but if you're going to be a success in life, you need a team. It says that the truth is everyone is highly dependent on other people to do what they do. But it takes wisdom and humility to openly acknowledge dependence. Rather than seeing dependence as a weakness, embrace it as a strength. Now, dependence does not mean total, but it certainly does mean allowing others to help you to reach your goal. There is nothing wrong with that. The next idea is that you want to create a win-win strategy and a strategic partnership to achieve tenfold and hundredfold goals. Don't be in a state of competition to win. You should be in a state of collaboration. Truly wealthy people know how to collaborate. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Well, if you think about it, let's use the music industry as our example. Some of the most successful projects are the result of collaborations. Think about Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones. I don't think there's anybody that will argue with you that Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones created some of the most memorable music ever. Another great example of the music industry is Beats by Apple and Dr. Dre. Now, everybody knows Dr. Dre for his ability to create, I guess, some of the most memorable beats ever in terms of rap and hip-hop. But Dr. Dre became a billionaire as a result of his collaboration with Apple and creating Beats by Dr. Dre, the headphones. So don't let your idea about competition ruin your ability to be a great success. Collaboration is an excellent way to become successful. Now, of course, collaboration requires that you sit down and that you think about, who the right people would be to do the collaboration. But it is certainly better than just being competitive only, because, as I said, some of the most memorable business partnerships are the results of collaboration. And if you don't know anything about music, let's just take retail. In the retail industry, long time ago, the largest well-known department store was Sears and Roebuck. And again, the success came because they were two people who had great knowledge in two areas that could be beneficial to both. So think about that. On your way to becoming a multimillionaire, think of the people that you might be able to collaborate with in order to bring the level of success. Because I believe in win-win strategies, because I don't think there's anything stronger than a win-win situation, because then people on both sides feel fulfilled, and when you feel fulfilled, then you can work toward the goal of getting the results that you desire. I guess this is a hard one for most people. It says set goals that will bring you 10 times what you currently make. That's hard because most people are focusing on whatever it is that I'm currently making. It's not enough, but it is sufficient that I may not have to work any harder. Well, successful people who really desire to be multimillionaires, they're always thinking about ways to add to whatever it is that they, to wherever they are currently. As I said earlier, if you're at $3,000 a month and you set your goal to go to 10 times that, that's $30,000. So you have to figure out a way that if whatever it is you're doing is working at 3,000, then it can certainly work in terms of 30,000. So you just have to rethink some things, and I think that's where the issue comes in, that you have to start to look at things in a different way. And thinking differently is where the stress, I think, comes in for a lot of people. And one of the things that is suggested is that in order to make this happen, your daily behaviors have to change. All aspects of your life have to become more serious. And most importantly, you have to eliminate limits on your thinking and your consumption that causes distractions. And perhaps that's where the problem comes in, is sometimes for many people, that is the only thing that's keeping them from being where they want to be, and that is they put limits on themselves because they start to look at the immediate picture and go, oh my God, I'm failing, this is not going to work, I'm tired, or whatever the situation or the excuse might be. But the song that I use in the beginning of my show, in these moments, you got to keep your head up. And you have to stay focused, and you cannot look at just the immediate circumstances and situations. You have to look further down the road. It's just like learning to drive a really expensive car. Many times when you buy a car that's expensive, the dealership will offer you driving classes. And the reason that they offer these classes is because they want to help you understand that in driving these cars, that the idea is to keep your focus further down the road than where you are, so that you have time to make adjustments to whatever, good, bad, or indifferent, that you see in far away. And so doing business and becoming an entrepreneur and a multimillionaire works the same way. That you've got to be comfortable with looking down the road to see where changes may be coming, so that you can make adjustments. Now this one I really like. It's about marketing. And it says you need to get really good at marketing, because marketing is connecting with people, then persuading them, and then helping them to make a decision to buy or to purchase your goods or products. It says the key to marketing is nothing more than making what you do easier to find, easier to use, and it's all about the presentation. It says that if you just think about the time or the effort of something, then you're just busy. You're not thinking about the product or the service in the right way. So in relative to marketing, if you're going to make connections, people can't connect with you if they don't know what it is that you're doing. So when doing marketing, it's your job to let them know. And often people get discouraged because of the persuasive aspect of marketing. Well, if you are unable to persuade a person to become interested enough in order to make a purchase, it doesn't mean that whatever it is that you're trying to do is not good for them. It's just that the plan perhaps needs some tweaking. So keep that in mind when marketing, because that's a very important part of the strategy. I'm going to go to break, and when I come back, then we're going to wrap up some of these things that'll help you to become a multimillionaire. Stay with me.
Mastering math can be big fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it, Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
For calling up more now. Joe, when I hit the bump, gonna ride like every day with 4 more thugs. I'm a bro with it, stroll until we get up in the.
Thank you so much for joining me. This is the Carolyn Holt Show, and we're talking about becoming a multi-millionaire. And I believe you all can become one. And I'd love for you to comment if you've liked some of the suggestions that I have made tonight. One of the other things that is suggested is that you need to shift your environment regularly if you have to in terms of becoming a multimillionaire. It says that your environment should reflect the work you're doing. Now, if you're a writer and you want to write, then you need a quiet place to do so. If you're into music and talk shows and producing things, then you need a studio. You can't do it well in your backyard. So you have to adjust your environment to do the things that you want to do. If the environment is a situation that interferes with the ability to concentrate, that's the key thing you need to consider. If your focus and your concentration is broken by where it is that you're doing this work, then it is certainly time for you to reconsider where you're doing the work, because that's lack of focus is one of the main deterrents to reaching your goal. So if you want to have the results of being a multimillionaire, you need to think about your environment and is it conducive to what it is that you're trying to produce. The next thing to consider is to define wealth and success for yourself. I'm going to say that again. Define wealth and success for yourself. Success and wealth are not all about money. And unfortunately, many people have that belief, but that's not true. Because there are a lot of people that have money, but they have very little capital in other areas of their lives. So that's how we know that success and wealth they're not always all about money. So it's important to keep that in mind. It says money is important. As a matter of fact, the scripture even says that. It says, money answereth all things. And if you don't believe me, it's in Ecclesiastes, the 10th chapter and the 19th verse. So you can check it out. So I'm not just making it up. Scripture does say money answereth all things. But while money is important, think of it as a tool. It is a tool to bring about an outcome. I guess that's the best way to look at it. Money is a tool that brings about an income. In other words, it's a means to an end, and I think we've all heard that as an example, that money is a means to an end. And the last thing I guess I want to share is that you need to have a firm stand about who you are, because that is your brand. So you need to have a firm stand about that. It says in order to be successful, you must believe in something. Now, I don't know anybody who has become successful and they didn't believe in something. It says that all successful brands have a clear why as to the reason they're in business. They can always answer the why. Why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing this because of X, Y, and Z. The business author Simon Sinek, he says that people don't buy the what you sell, they buy the why. And one business that he uses as an example of buying the why is Apple. And he says, for example, Apple, they don't explain the technicalities of their products. They define and share their core values, which is that they believe that technology should be both easy to use and cool. And when you think about it, that has to be true, because they make the iPhone, and the iPhone is not cheap. I think it is. It costs, I think, even more than Big Baller brand shoes, huh? Because I think they cost about $495, and the Apple phone is almost $700. But because people feel cool, they make it easy to use. There is a lot of function built into the technical aspect of just the iPhone alone. That's why you buy it, because it works and you feel cool. And not only the the iPhone, but the watches and the iPads and the computers and all the things that contribute to your day-to-day life. Apple creates a lifestyle that you can buy into. And if your desire is to become a successful person, that's what you have to do, is you have to create a product or service that people can buy into. And many times people say, well, you know, it's too hard to invent something. And it is. It's a lot. If you invent something, it is a long and arduous task many times to bring it to market. There's a costly expense in terms of, you know, just getting the trademarks and the patents and the different things that you need to be able to reap the benefits of your hard work and creativity. Because a lot of times there are people out there just waiting to create a knockoff of your brand or your specific product that you've spent a lot of hard work to create. But that's, you know, that's just the chance that you take, and you shouldn't forego taking the chance just because somebody may produce it with less value attached to it. Just keep working hard so that people will have you top of mind when they go to buy whatever the product is. There are a lot of reasons that take, for instance, Tide washing powder. Tide is probably one of the most recognized brands out there, but it doesn't mean that Gain doesn't do well and all of these other brands. But the real key is to make it serviceable or useful to the client or to the consumer, and you're on to something. Because in order to become a multimillionaire, you need to create something that people need to use over and over and over again. And the last thing that is suggested is that you cannot be afraid to take risk. With building wealth, there's a lot of issues that present themselves along the way. But you have to know that when you start to develop your plan, because to get to the outcome that you desire, you have to stick to it, and you have to sometimes make adjustments on the fly. And many times that is hard for people, making an adjustment and adapting to new situations and new issues that you hadn't considered. But that's part of success. So if your desire is to become a multimillionaire, I hope that you put some of these suggestions that I've shared with you tonight, put them in motion. And again, like I said, I'd love to hear from you just to see if they made sense to you, because when I saw them, it really helped me to want to be more like LL Cool J and get to the point to where I can just live off 20% of what I have and be happy to give the other 80% away. Well, I thank you so much for joining me tonight. As always, it is the goal and the desire of this show is to move you from misery to magnificence, and from subpar to spectacular. And if you get to work on becoming a multimillionaire, I think you'll get there. So thank you so much for joining me. Good night, and have a wonderful evening.
Mastering math can be big fun. Fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it, Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
He has no right to tell a woman when and where to create one. So will the real men get up? I know you're fed up, ladies, but keep your head up.